Welcome to the 5th Annual State of Compliance Address for the Dental Compliance Institute. My name is Linda Harvey, Founder and Chief Knowledge Officer for the Dental Compliance Institute. DCI is the place for dental compliance experts to meet. Our members come from all different backgrounds in compliance, whether it's private practice or DSOs, safety officers or chief compliance officers. In addition to our Train the Trainer programs, we have 3 professional emphasis groups. Our inaugural group, the Mastermind Group, is for the graduates of our courses. Our second group, the DSO Roundtable, hosts offices and members from over 2,000 offices across the country. And our third group, the newest group, the Consultants Network, is for our compliance consultants within the organization to get together, network, and partner and share ideas and best practices. DCI strives to meet the accelerated compliance needs across our industry for private practices as well as DSOs. As we prepare to kick off our 10th anniversary this summer, we're thrilled to kick off this new year, 2024, with this exciting lineup of industry experts and our wonderful sponsor partners. The theme for this year evolved as I watched practice after practice last year lose experienced team members, hire individuals with no dental experience, and pretty much lose their compliance memory. So the resilience and strength of the team is what ultimately pulled them through. In a nutshell, it included having effective generational communication, leveraging self-care to prevent or lessen burnout, and leveraging technology to work smarter and not harder. So with that, I'd like to introduce our wonderful MC this evening and turn the program over to her. Samantha Strain is a partner with HealthStream Ventures, an M&A transaction firm focused on dental and med spa spaces. A former DSO owner with 1 exit, she is now an advisor to private equity and innovators in the space. She has a strong network, deep industry knowledge, and is dedicated to shaping the future of oral health for the better. Sam Strain, I'm just thrilled to have you here with me tonight.
I'm so thrilled to be here with you all, and just so excited to MC this important topic. I always say to the DSOs that we support that compliance is fun. And they always look at me like I have 3 heads, and I say it again, yes, it is fun because compliance is smart. And isn't it fun to be smart, especially when we're talking about compliance and staying compliant? So tonight, I look forward to having some fun with you all and our talented cast of speakers. And as a side note, we might go over on time just a little bit, but please stay as long as you can because I wouldn't want you to miss out on Linda's compliance dance moves.
This is your Sam. So
I know we're glowing. Exactly.
All right. So Sam, back to you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's great. We're off and running, guys, and thank you so much again for joining us. Kicking off our first presentation is Iron Man Lisa Copeland. And you heard me right, ladies and gentlemen, she is an Iron Man. Imagine a world where your dental team had the dedication of an Iron Man or a finely tuned orchestra. She's going to help us dive into the secret sauce of building a practice where everyone sings in harmony. I mean, not literally, of course, unless you're Taylor Swift. But Lisa will be presenting to us on the topic of generational jeopardy, ensuring practice wellness by nurturing your team. Lisa is a leading authority in dental team communications, an author, Gen X, and as mentioned, an Iron Man who transformed dental teams into linguistic superheroes with her coaching expertise. In 2018, she received a rare award. It was the CSP Award, held by fewer than 12% of the global speakers, and stands as one of the 3 registered dental hygienists globally with this distinction. Lisa, thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us tonight. You have the mic.
My pleasure. Thanks for the great introduction. Off we go. We are all immigrants to the others generation. So imagine for a moment with me that each generation is an immigrant coming into the others and navigating that unfamiliar territory or the different culture and the norms and the beliefs and the communication styles, and how you would feel navigating all of those things. And just like an immigrant, each generation brings with them a really unique set of experiences and values and traditions. Today, we're going to dive into the kaleidoscope of the perspectives that make up the generational melting pot or the cohorts. We have 6 generations, 4 of which, maybe even 5, are in the workforce. We're going to focus on the ones that are basically in the workforce. But have you ever thought about adding communication into your strategic compliance goal? It's super important for you to include, because if we get communication compliance right, we can create that really harmonious and highly productive team that we all crave. So we're going to be looking at 3 different aspects in the short time we have together tonight. We're going to talk about generational categories. We're going to talk about the generational languages and how we differ. And then we're also going to talk about attraction and retention, because that is a really big issue across the nation with dentistry right now. So once we understand the basics, we take that information and we translate it into working with our patients and working with our clients and working with our team members so that we can better relate to each other and establish better relationships. So before we really dive in, I have a confession to make. I am a Gen X. I like to check off my task list. I love, love, love to socialize, but after the work is done, or at least been addressed. And then my preferred method of communication is texting. You can communicate with me any way you want, but I will respond much more quickly with a text. Each generation is defined by their birth year, and these dates are going to vary slightly depending on what resource you're looking at, but really they're for research purposes as well as understanding how and why a cohort developed the way that they did. You can also be a cusper, which is what I am, which means you straddle 3 to 5 years on either side of a generation. Now, cuspers have a really good advantage because they're empathetic to the generation before them and after them. And they also have a better understanding of generational DNA because they kind of straddle between 2 and 3 generations. So different experiences are going to impact each cohort. So world events, social experiences, economics, pandemics, right? We saw that with Gen Z just recently. And the way that those events interact with the life cycle of the aging process is what determines the outlook of a generation. And so you have to be old enough to remember an event in order for it to impact you and to really belong to that generation. And so, for example, this will help give you an idea of how it works. My brother is 12 years older than me, and he got a letter to be drafted into the Vietnam War when he was 17. Now, my parents were traditionalists. My parents were much older than most of my friends' parents. And so my parents had lived through a war. My father was in the Navy in the war, and my mother had lived through an experience in a war. So they were really, really stressed about my brother being, recruited into the Vietnam War. My brother, his experience was kind of twofold. He was excited because all his friends were getting the letter as well, but he was really nervous because he heard my father's experience about being in the war. My experience, remember, I was only 6 years old because I was 12 years younger than my brother. I just remember the stress of the decisions that were being made and the discussions that were happening. So it impacted every one of us very, very differently. Today's all about learning to speak the right generational language and really to better build relationships and increase your productivity. And so think of it as a time to evaluate not only yourself, but the people that you're working with and the clients that you're working with. And so this is a chart that I've developed that I work with when I'm doing generational work with different clients. We're not going to go through the whole thing, don't worry. But we are going to use one of them as an example. Let's look at communication preference as an example. So baby boomers, and it's the second one from the bottom, baby boomers prefer in-person or a telephone conversation. And this drives the other generations berserk because that's not how we interact, right? But that is their preference. And knowing that is super important for us to relate to them better. A Gen X prefers email. Text came in pretty close with a Gen X as well. And then a Gen Y, they're also known as the millennials. They prefer instant messaging and texting. And then Gen Z, that's the cohort that's coming into the workforce right now. They prefer text, and then they've come around full circle and they want and crave face-to-face. The reason being they are digital natives. They have never, ever known life without digital access. And so they crave that human interaction. So it's kind of come around full circle from the baby boomer. What I suggest you do with this chart, and certainly if you want a clean copy of this, please email me and I'm happy to send it to any of you. Put it in an area where you have reference to it. Like when I was in private practice, we put this in the inside of a door in the sterilization room. And if we were having an interaction with somebody that we kind of needed to take a step back and think, how should I proceed with this conversation? We'd go look at the chart real quick. This is an activity I use when I work with different dental teams or different generations, diversity within a client group. And it's a super easy activity for you to use to help people get to know each other on a different level. I call it the penny pass. And what you do is use a date, like what's on the penny, 2015, and you pair people up. And in 12 words or less, each person is going to tell the other person what they were doing in that year. And so, for example, in 2015, I was in Seattle working as a hygienist in an implant practice. That was 12 words, right? So it's a really quick activity. The other person goes, and then you come back and you share your experiences with each other. And what happens is people want to tell their story. You know, they want to dive into more about what they told the other person. And you really learn people on a different level and you learn things about people that you probably never, ever would have known. I do want to add two things that you want to be aware of when you're doing this activity. Number one, make sure that you pick a year that everybody can participate. I did this years ago and I picked a date and one of the people in the room said, I wasn't even born yet, right? So you want to kind of think that through before you pick the date that you're going to use. And it will open up doors for you to learn a lot more about people. We also want to rethink traditional career training and team progression. Gen Z are the largest cohort to date. They're bigger than the baby boomers. And when they reach critical mass in the workforce, they will be the largest generation cohort ever. And so they're coming in fast and furiously, and they are changing everything we do. They're turning our world upside down, if any of you have noticed. And so pivotal leadership is really necessary to maintain this generation. You want to create mentorship programs and cross-training and department opportunities and cross-functions so that they continue to grow and evolve and be educated. And with that should come the progression of their title, their seniority recognition, and also their pay. Higher achieving employees really crave and want to keep developing and build their relationships. This is one of the things that Gen Zs are referred to about all the time. They want to have multiple opportunities to grow. So this strategy really complements a generationally diverse team. And it helps people learn about their weaknesses. And so if you have a baby boomer that is strong in relationships, let's say, and a Gen Z that's strong in technology, you partner those two together and they learn from each other and they grow and their relationship also expands as well. The younger the generation, the higher the expectation for ongoing coaching and mentorship. Gen Z is going to leave as soon as they came in the door if you have helicopter leaders, or if you are a helicopter leader or have helicopter leaders within your organization. And so traditional feedback, you know, the way we've always interacted with people is to give them feedback about something that happened. But the problem with feedback is it's already happened. The mistake has already occurred. We can't go back and correct it. And it has a negative connotation. And so what we want to do is have a timely, open, honest communication to strengthen the relationship. Coaching conversations are collaborative. You know, how do we look at the situation that occurred and how can we move forward with solutions that might help us avoid maybe what happened? Right, so you want to think about at the end of the conversation, how did that person feel after this conversation? How did the team feel about the strategic decisions to move forward? Lack of communication is a primary cause of employee disengagement and also turnover. So if attraction and retention are concerns for you, the AGD just came out with an article this week about the biggest stressor for dentists right now is attraction and retention of employees. That is huge. So we really have to pivot the way that we are presenting ourselves as leaders. One way is to diversify the benefits, to attract the younger generations. Diversify your benefits, create a menu that gives them opportunities and meets them where they are and achieves what they're looking for instead of a package for every single person that's identical. Now, two things you want to be careful with using a menu like this is, number one, you've got to get HR involved. Number two, whatever they choose from the menu, you want to make sure that it equals the same amount for every single employee. So let's say you have a Gen Z that's traveling 45 miles to get to work every day. They may be interested in transportation or gas stipend. Doggy daycare is huge. If they're single or they don't have a partner and they have a dog but not a child, instead of daycare, doggy care. So think outside the box, get your team involved in what it is that's important to them, because that'll give you the list of the menu that they have to select from. You also want to organize team building and focus on collaboration and problem solving. So you want team building to be an ongoing event. And so have things that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis and vary them. You know, one thing will run its course and then you move into another engagement. So I've made a list of some things that have come up in this presentation of how you can just use these to engage the team on different levels and really get them involved to get to know each other. A couple of my favorites, the puzzle. A friend of mine, Tina Clark, you might know her as Teacher Tina. She has this in her team lounge, and they have a big puzzle on a table, and everybody just goes by and puts pieces of the puzzle together. And it sparks conversations because somebody finds a piece that you've been looking for forever. And you find that person, you're like, okay, all right, who found the piece that I've been looking for the whole week? Traveling trophy, that's another one of my favorites. A trophy or a prize is given to an employee at the end of the week for going above and beyond that somebody noticed. And then that person passes it on to another team member the next week. So a lot of these ideas are actually in my book. I'll show you the title at the end of the presentation. But easy ways for you to get the team engaged with each other, and they become much more supportive of each other. So by speaking the right generational language, we can create a positive practice culture, and you're going to attract and keep employees and patients who share your values and feel safe in your care. So I'd like to challenge you with an action plan from tonight's exposure to the generational information. And I always follow the what, the who, and the when. So what is learn more about yourself as a generation, and then learn more about your colleagues and your teammates and your clients, right? Put that into action and decide just one thing that you're going to take away from tonight that you can implement starting next Monday. A few weeks ago, I gave this presentation to a dental practice, and I got a call, and as soon as the call came in, I knew who it was. She said, "Hey, Lisa, this is Carol." She had one of those voices and just a personality that I knew it was her instantly. And she said, "You coached our dental team a couple of weeks ago, and I just called to let you know this generational crap, it really works." And we had a good laugh, and I said, "Well, tell me more." And she said, "I have this colleague, and I've been trying to get specific information from her for weeks. And I thought maybe I should give this generational stuff a try." So she had taken that chart that I referred to earlier, and she had put it up next to her computer. And the light bulb went off. She said, "I am a Gen X." She is a baby boomer. She said, "So I got out of my chair, I went down to her office, and we had a full-on social conversation. It just about killed me, but I learned about her kids. I talked about her grandbabies, her weekend. She opened up more information about our project than I had ever wished for. And it was because I had spoken to her in the language that she wanted to be spoken in. She said, I just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate the information that you shared with us, and it has really improved our relationships, and it has helped our productivity as well. I want to thank you all for joining tonight and beginning your communication compliance journey. I'm here as a resource for you, and I would love to hear questions if you have any about communication in the generational aspect, or any other communication you're interested in. And I want to thank you for attending tonight. I'm going to turn it back over to Sam so we can learn a lot more from the other speakers.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start calling you the Iron Woman of Teams. That was like learning the love language of your team. And honestly, that was solid gold right there. So I'm glad this is being recorded.
Me too,
Linda,
Sam.
do you have
I just
Yep.
have to share that Lisa and I were talking about a crazy tidbit that we both learned earlier this week. And that's the fact that this year, millennials are going to outnumber the boomers in the workplace. And so we definitely need to talk to Lisa, because it's about keeping the team solid and communicating effectively. So now the whole script is going to flip.
Yep.
So beware.
Interesting, you guys. It's the love language of your teams. You've got to know who you're communicating with.
Production.